Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks.
How's everybody doing today? This is Attorney Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks. Looking forward to having a discussion. How's everybody doing? Let's have a discussion today, a necessary one. What you see right now is while black folks are talking about gossip from Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James getting into it over LeBron's son to the Trump divorce. We'll talk Trump, whatever his name is, divorce. There's some real stuff going on. That real stuff is Donald Trump is gutting American services, is firing American workers, in the process, of course, firing black workers who work for federal government at an outpaced rate. And I feel like our community has decided that gossip is going to be where we live. 40, 35, 55 out here talking about Stephen A. and LeBron. You ain't got no sense. Out here talking about housewives. Everybody in the chat, let's talk about it today. I'm not going to keep you long. We're going to get into the discussion. Again, support this channel, 310-388-3499 to call in. I want to hear your opinions because we're going to get into some of that gutting in a second. For many people, you know people that don't know nothing that's going on, from the steel tariff war to the auto tariff war to the IRS to the Department of Education cuts, but they know about this right here. What is this? We're going to talk about it in a second, but supposedly LeBron confronted Stephen A. over his statements about his son, and we talking about that while Trump talking about you. Trump is talking about devastating your lives, your communities, this nation, unlike anything we've ever seen, in service of the oligarchs, in service of the wealthy. Some people would call it a distraction. I call it a reflection of the failure of black adulthood. Might be an overstatement. I feel it might be an understatement. What I'm looking at is I am looking at you and asking the question, why is this important anyway? These people don't do nothing but sell gambling, no way. Gossip and gambling. Stephen A. Smith, the jackpot is back. So what is the jackpot? It is your destruction. Stephen A. Smith with ESPN bets, LeBron James with DraftKings, and don't nobody want to ask the question, how is somebody who is an active player selling gambling and we okay with gambling and not calling for regulation? You should be damn near behind bars behind this. What do you mean it's a different sport? I don't care what sport it is. I don't think gambling should exist at all. And for those of you that don't know the history of this thing, under Trump's first term and the Supreme Court that we ended up with as a result of his appointments, we got a deregulation and allowance for gambling that will destroy your families. But now we're at a point where they have automated it, where they have added, and people be like, what's the difference between this and Vegas? Well, Vegas didn't do the micro bets like this. It didn't have access to your phone to be there all the time. There was a system in place that kept you from going crazy, gambling away your aspiration sold to you by Earn Your Leisure and Boyce Watkins. And that's gone now. And now we got a man that's supposed to be, these two men always talking about the black man and black community. I don't give a fuck about that shit. And I meant it that way. Because if you selling gambling, we shouldn't even like you. I mean, we should damn near hit you with an egg. Because what you are actually selling is nothing more than destruction and failure. See, I'm going to get into the show, and the crux is about all of the things that's going on with the Trump policies, with the cuts to jobs, but it's also about you realizing you are your own failure now, from your vote for Trump to your support for LeBron James. What they're actually doing with this is just taxing you. So why did the states allow for the sports gambling? Because they just want to tax you again. So every money that you give to DraftKings is really just another tax on top of the taxes you already pay. All right. So here we are, and they got you in a world of a wheel where you are pushing for these people, and these people are pushing for your destruction, and they would say, that's not what I'm doing, I'm just selling gambling, and you got a choice. You tell that to how they set up the app to make sure you don't have a choice. What do I mean? They got certain things inside of the app set up to make sure you come back. The states have set it up where them gifts that they give up to 1,000 bets and you don't lose are tax-free for the gambling house to allow the gambling house to offer you incentives so that you can be taxed more. You don't know none of this going on because LeBron James and Stephen A are involved. Okay. We here. Win $1,000 and you don't lose, but then you got to bet the winnings back with us. And Stephen A and LeBron James are selling this. This is not just a show about them. It's about the entirety of how black celebrity is here to keep you confused as they steal your life. Who is they? The oligarchs. The greater system. This is now a Hunger Games type moment. And you are Katniss. But you're not Katniss because you're not even somebody that got chose. Let me show you who you are. Let me show you who you are. This you. Level 12. You level 12. You done voted for this white old man that's damn near 80 years old. These people that gave you gambling and you don't know what's going on. What's going on, Tone? Yeah. Support the channel. ToneTalks.net. Subscribe, donate, or share. You can also support by Patreon. 310-388-3499 to hear from you. We should have a great show. Farmers sue Trump administration to unfreeze USDA grants. We're going to go through some of these articles in detail, but I'm just dropping a few on you. Trump's education department changes could lead to systemic chaos. What changes? Oh, he's going to cut half the education department. Half. Cuts to contract staff and civil rights probes might backfire. USDA cancels $1 billion in local food purchasing for schools and food banks. How many of y'all kids get the free lunch at school? Okay. Doge proposes cutting IRS workforce by a total of nearly 20%. Before you celebrate, understand that will benefit the rich, not you. Okay. You ain't nothing but Hunger Games. This ain't going to end well. And I'm talking to you today in the context of the gossip that's going on in Black America, not only around Stephen A and LeBron, but they are a reflection of how little you guys think about the truths around you while a Trump is setting to gut America. Can we talk today? Can we get into this discussion and understand it's not going to end well for you? Okay. Somebody said this is Trump's plan all along, population control. Well, what I would pose to you is, what about these people? Because this sports gambling ain't nothing but population control as well. Again, I pose to you a question that nobody on the internet, TV, or in media has posed yet. How is LeBron James promoting sports gambling while playing basketball? And if you tell me it's because he's doing it with a football instead of an NBA, that don't make no sense. This is a direct reflection of an era that is about deregulation and the destruction of your lives. Not only should gambling not exist, but there is no way in hell that an active player should be allowed to promote sports gambling while they're playing another sport, period. In addition, there's no way that this ESPN bet should exist because ESPN controls distribution for the league. You can't be the betting house and the distributor and you still gonna give them your money. And this man is on the face of it, this goober, and I meant that. Education department fires 1,300 workers, gutting its staff. The layoff means that the department will now have a workforce of about half the size it did when President Trump took office. They're getting rid of half the education department. In the chat, how many of y'all got kids in school? How many of y'all got kids in school? Right now, what we're seeing is an unseriousness amongst Black folks that don't understand the tragedy that is coming upon them because they are wealthless. So the middle Black family has about $1,500. Y'all, a whole family in America, rough numbers, you need about $400,000 in net worth, access to $200,000 just to be on the floor, and you out here with $65 and ain't concerned. Okay. Where does employees 1,300 really? Where does 1,300 employees really need it? This is what we dealing with. Let me say it again. Where does 1,300 employees really need it? This is what we dealing with in America. Yes, they were. And we needed another 1,300. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? 910 coming to you.
What's going on, Mr. Antonio? This is Christian from Fayetteville, North Carolina. How you doing, sir?
What up, Christian? This is one of my youngs. He calls in. A true caller. What generation are you? Gen Z or millennial?
Z.
Gen Z calling in. So what you guys don't understand is what I believe is going to happen is my project will set fire to Gen Z, unlike anything we've seen since King or since Malcolm X. I don't care what nobody said. Because what's going to happen is they going to realize that they got shut out in a way that this spoiled fruit generation of like older millennials and Gen X don't, because they live on culture. So Gen X believes that culture is enough. They're gonna find out. Y'all don't have no retirement. When I say no retirement, you 60, you 55 years old. You ain't got your 700,000. You don't even know nobody with 100,000 in their private accounts. Nope. Now a lot of y'all getting fired from your federal job, so you're not gonna have that pension. But it's Gen Z that will awaken and get set fire and get mad. Give me your take on everything, because I don't understand what we're talking about before I get into this education.
Absolutely. I think the part about Gen Z waking up is because so many of us are waking up and realizing that, mom and dad were supposed to be in the political kitchen for us, and then they come to the table and they say, "Oh, there's nothing for you to eat except for this failure." So all we have to eat is failure, and we're being told to work harder, get degrees, and everything else. Like even right now, I'm having very serious conversations with my elders and with my parents and everything else. And a lot of them, unfortunately, feel that they have a right to speak on the things that I need to do with my family or even my cousins and friends. But if you didn't provide the inheritance, you need to be quiet and get to work. So, and unfortunately, they don't like to hear that. But the fact of the matter is, they can't explain to me why I can't get assistance on certain things, or why, I don't necessarily want to show up around the family, because there's nothing but gossip and failure happening. And folks want to talk about is LeBron or MJ the GOAT. Like, I don't care. And then on top of that, I think another nuanced thing that we need to look at too, because I've seen not a ton, but I've seen a lot of folks in my generation, they're turning to, spirituality, specifically the church. So my problem is a lot of these churches that are so-called conservative values, what they're turning around and doing is they're having us vote ourselves into extinction. And then we're going to turn to the church and need resources, and they're not going to have anything except prayers. So then we're going to get out in the streets and we're about to make a bunch of crash outs unless we come to the knowledge that you've been presented for over a decade and saying, hey, this is the political work we need to get involved in. I don't really care too much about trying to start a business. I don't care too much about trying to get in stock. I don't care too much about Forex and all of that. What I'm trying to figure out is, why do my white best friends have $10, $15, $20,000 inheritances coming to them right now? And I have nothing except maybe a birthday card that I might get, and being told that we're gonna pray for you.
Let me add to that. I think that what we're coming to quickly is a point where Adolph's Black Americans since slavery, will have to start despising and damn near hating the rich. And what that will require you is many of you guys to restructure your entire way of thinking. Not because it's not good to have means of wealth to live, but the rich are so oppositional, and what they sell is so predatory on Adolph's people in general, that when you tag into being a rich person, as both of these men are, you become the junk of the race. Just don't nobody see you that way. I'll tell everybody. Remember, I used to tell you Jay-Z's a high school dropout that sell anklets and rent-to-own and a bunch of liquor. Well, these people are junk too, junk bonds. So they selling this because when you realize what is happening, the Adolph's population, along with many white poor, are becoming the junk of America in terms of wealth. So being rich will no longer be a proper goal. I'll just tell it to Gen Z. Y'all Gen Xers, maybe y'all don't get it. Go ahead. Give me your last take on these people selling this gambling, and then also Trump and all the real stuff he got going on.
Absolutely. I'll get the realest thing, and this is coming from my own life. The problem is, so like a couple years ago, I purchased my first house, and the bank did some very, very, unscrupulous things during that process, and I was owed some restitution. So I was told by some family that I could go to the CSTV. Here's the problem. The CSTV doesn't exist anymore. It isn't just the fact that it doesn't exist anymore because of the Trump administration. The problem with that is because my father voted for Trump. And he identifies more with Trump and Elon Musk, even though he drives Uber, instead of realizing he's a bottom caste that is not letting children any type of
Wait, you can't run past that. Hold on. Let me do one thing. You said, the brother said his father voted for Trump and drives Uber. You said it fast. I just want to make sure I heard it. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. He drives Uber and does a lot of you talk about we need tax breaks and we need this and need that. They'll talk about how wonderful Elon is doing of a job with cutting all of these different tax dollars. He's not getting anything. And on top of that, he has grandchildren that now exist, that the only thing that they have is the political work that their father, myself, and my younger brother as well, who also has a child, the only thing that they're going to have to be able to inherit is a fight for justice that should have been done decades ago. So I'm dealing with family that is literally voting for my extinction, and the only thing that they're thinking about is the fact that they're getting towards the end of their life. And it is the most predatory thing ever. This is my own flesh and blood. So now I got to deal with this, and I got to deal with white supremacy. So for any of the Gen X and the boomers that are listening, you are about to make your Gen Z youngins, you're going to turn us into monsters. Not because we want to be, but we got to become monsters to survive.
Ooh, ain't that what I've been telling you for quite a bit of time? Rise of legacy, what was coming. Didn't I tell you about being boomer hooked? The reason why I know, Christian, is because I'm really not a true oldest millennial. I'm more because my mama had me at 16 and my daddy had me at 16, and both them didn't have no daddies. I'm like really a true millennial that was there early. So like when you went to UCLA, everybody was up there Cosby. Everybody up there was Cosby. I went up to UCLA with a duffel bag and on a stick down there like Horatio Alger. So when you start looking around now, all the people that have Gen X parents ain't got shit. So now it's kind of more aware, like, damn, this shit finna be really bad. And I'm saying this to you today because I don't know how you love people that's selling you failure. I don't know how you don't see these as low-end people. This man played jump ball, and this man talk on that show coming out of that little school he came out of. He don't know nothing. He up there trying to do geopolitical talks. We'll talk about it in a second with Candace Owens. She a college dropout. What y'all talking about Ukraine for? Neither one of y'all know nothing. I'm just talking to you today and bringing that real. I'm going to let you go, Christian. Thank you so much, my young. So we having this discussion about all of this going on, and while all this goes on, we talking gossip while this young black brother calls in and said his whole family is full of Katnisses in the Hunger Games. His whole family, and this is Stephen A right here. He the lady with the pink flowers. You never thought of him that way. That's all he is. He this person. Or Stanley Tucci on Hunger Games, the man with the ponytail. Okay. So, as we have this discussion, I want you to know that it's not your fault necessarily when they're cutting 1,300 staff workers. Trump's education department changes could lead to a systemic chaos. Cuts to contracts, staff, and civil rights probes might backfire, leading to less oversight and more mismanagement. It would leave states and local districts scrambling to fill the gap, said Kerry Rodriguez, president of the National Parents Union. Where is your National Parents Union? What did your mama do tonight? What did your granddaddy do today? Well, Kerry Rodriguez is part of the National Parents Union. We're going to witness massive layoffs of teachers and support staff, larger class sizes, school closures. It's going to force kids to travel longer distances to get an education, and the loss of funding for special education programs will be absolutely catastrophic. So for those of y'all in these deep red states, from Georgia to Alabama to Texas to Mississippi, y'all might wake up and they don't have no Monday school. Am I saying that's a definite? I don't know how the cut gonna show, but it's gonna show. We letting everybody out at 12 on Thursdays and Fridays. Well, I gotta work. I don't know how to get there. Well, they can just walk around. I don't know, walk home. Okay. So we're getting through the discussion today, and we're talking about some of the serious things that are going on, and we're using a discussion that everybody know about to actually add into the candy. And that discussion that everybody know about is this weird confrontation between gambling spokespeople. LeBron do DraftKings, Stephen A do ESPN bets, and they sell it to little poor black people and poor white people. And Trump pointing at you. I got a full queue, 310-388-3499 to hear from you. Here's Stephen A. Smith last month complaining about people close to LeBron texting him about the issue he has with him. So you don't like when he uses back channels or confronts you. This is what this man is talking about. This grown man is on here babbling about this a few days ago. Stephen A. Smith calls out LeBron James' camp for seemingly trying to silence his critics. What are we talking about? In the middle of this, they talking about that as grown adults that don't have enough. I want to talk today. I want to keep the discussion going. I want you to understand you're going to have to get to a point where you question who you are. I done already gave you ADOS, which re-anchored that you're not African the continent. You are American descendant of slavery, and you must find yourself inside of that. I done already told you about being boomer hooked and the fact that you don't buy your mama a house. She pays off your school. How many things can we get done? I got to tell you that you don't sports gamble? And then you fight me on that? And I got to tell you that the people that sell it to you ain't about nothing. We live in America where the late car payments have risen to the highest level in over 30 years. High car prices and elevated interest rates have strained auto loan borrowers. But you talking about how Gilbert Arenas brought Stephen A on the show from the underdog sports betting. So we got DraftKings with LeBron, we got ESPN bets with Stephen A, and we got Gilbert Arenas with underdog. And you don't know why these people are everywhere all the time? I told you, in my belief, Shannon Sharp interview with Cat Williams was only popular because they had DraftKings in the corner and something was done with the algorithm. It's just not an important enough story, them old nostalgic black stories. How many times do we got to hear about what happened on the Friday set? Or what happened when Cat Williams seen Corey Holcomb or any comedian in 1999 walking? Bunch of underdog sports betting promotion. This whole Hunger Games nonsense is crazy. You got grown men having a high school dispute in a very serious moment where people might starve. Both these grown men worth hundreds of millions of dollars off of selling you this. All these people are just out here. They out here setting up a destruction bottle that many of you will not realize you're in until your teeth rot from this gambling. I'm saying it to you first, and I'm saying it to you last. What will happen is that, particularly with the sports gambling, it will cause a crack-like scourge on poor America, but particularly Black America. And then all of these people will play like they're confused, from Joe Budden to Shannon Sharp to Gilbert Arenas to LeBron James to Stephen A. Smith to Charles Barkley. They're going to all act like they didn't know it could get that bad when everything told them it could. Why would they give this man $100 million? Okay, well, you do the math. I want to talk today, before I come to the next caller. This article came out back in May of 2024. I've been talking about the sports gambling since the Supreme Court decision back in, I believe, 2016, 2017. But what you're seeing is that no one understands. I don't know how you know. There's a reason it was banned before. You understand that the ban actually happened under Bush, under a Republican. You understand that in Texas, they won't allow them to have that casino, them Adelsons with Mark Cuban, because the Republicans are saying no along with the Democrats. You don't understand how bad this is yet. And the goal by the DraftKings and all them ain't even just the sports. They trying to get into the Candy Crush and the little slot games. I watched the whole documentary on it. One of the strongest voices on this topic, does the sports betting industry target African Americans, belongs to Antonio Moore, a Los Angeles attorney and podcast host. This is my quote, is the sports betting industry consciously and specifically targeting African Americans as potential customers? Absolutely. You see it in black content creators being paid promoters, from Joe Budden to Shannon Sharp to Gilbert Arenas. The gambling industry runs national commercials with Kevin Hart and Jamie Foxx nonstop. What am I talking about right here? Go look this thing up, this logo. It's called Underdog Sports Betting, Sports Fantasy. So the show is a big promotion for this sports betting house. And you wonder why it's everywhere. He nobody. What he talking about is nonsense. And you can tell him. I don't got no problems you telling him. You can tell Gilbert, you can tell Shannon, you can tell Stephen A, you can tell LeBron. I tell him. If you scared to tell him, I tell him. This is, in my opinion, is to target a core audience found in black homes. By way of example, Mr. Moore offered a comparison between two sports programs. One hosted by Colin Cowherd, who is white, and the other hosted by Shannon Sharp, who is black. If you were to contrast two shows, Shannon Sharp's, and go read the rest of the article. How they do the ads. Colin got the mental health and everything. Shannon won the sports betting. They under the same umbrella. I think Colin behind it all. But I say all of this, again, in the context of a greater discussion that I'm bringing to you about the things that are going on that Trump is doing, because we need to talk about that. We went through the education, but we're going to talk about some more issues like the food, like the IRS, like the farmers. But before we talk about that, I want you to understand, come on, that this is here for a reason. In my view, it's no different than this. He the Joe Camel of sports betting, him and LeBron and the rest of them. But the thing with Joe Camel, for those of you that are too young, is they banned Joe Camel because it targeted a vulnerable group. And no group is more vulnerable than other than children than black folk. We knew that historically. The Joe Camel advertising campaign was officially ended in 1997 due to a federal lawsuit and a settlement between the tobacco industry and state attorneys general. We need the state attorneys general to ban these black men selling this bullshit. Ain't nobody told you that. We need the state's attorney general to ban these black men selling this trash. But we talking about nonsense. There's no way this man should be selling sports gambling while playing sports, period. That ban cannot happen if you betting on your phone. Oh, he putting it all together. Okay. In 1997, the Federal Trade Commission filed a complaint against the Joe Camel campaign, alleging that it violated federal law. RGR, the tobacco company that owned Camel, temporarily stopped using Joe Camel in advertising while the lawsuit was pending. RJR officially ended the Joe Camel campaign on July 10th, 1997. The tobacco industry and state's attorney general settled on a ban on the cartoon figures in cigarette ads. There should be a ban on black men that fling around money in these gambling ads. It's too dangerous, and this group is too vulnerable. No group gambles more. It has more addictive qualities than black males. Somebody just stupidly said sports betting is legal. Well, so smoking cigarettes was legal too, but they still banned this Joe Camel. God damn it, there's levels. Wrong page, wrong time. It ain't just that you right, the real smoking cigarettes is legal, don't mean it's good for you. This is beyond that. What I am speaking to, again, I'm tired of this shit. We got high school educated people, and I don't mean the reals, I mean the other person. And a lot of that don't understand topics. Just listen. I'm not talking about the legalization at this particular point. We were talking about that. It should be illegal. You should be fighting to make it illegal. I'm saying even if it is legal, You definitely should not allow for a black person that's flinging around $100 million deal in Stephen A to promote this because it is dangerous to a vulnerable group. You don't know that? Oh yeah, y'all think y'all superheroes. Y'all don't know that you're the most vulnerable. Out here with $35 in your account. Okay, you got $2,000, but that's your bill money. You out here with $35 real dollars in your account. You don't know that you're supposed to have a couple $100,000 at your age in there. RJR paid $10 million to California cities and counties to fund anti-smoking efforts for youth. Stephen A. Smith, ESPN agrees to a $100 million contract that lets him talk more about politics. We're going to let this man talk about politics. Let me tell you the first call. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, Big Tone? This is D-Thought.
D-Thought, let me ask you a question before I get in here. You got LeBron talking about sports betting. You got Dwight Howard saying that the reason he got kicked off the Lakers was LeBron. They sharing that $559,000. You got, let me go to some more of them. Shaq, he's big. Everybody said that these people were rich, but somehow their podcasts have to have this DraftKings in it to be promoted right. Nobody want to know this. You got Lex and Tex talking about she looking 35. She was 35 here. Stop crying because you sexy and 30. Talking about Janet Jackson, not knowing that you're sharing one of these bitter Twitter bot accounts that they be having to promote people we ain't talking about. You got the divorce between Tiana Taylor and Iman Shumpert and sharing that, talking about the dollar amounts. White people getting divorced like that every day. You got they talking about Ghost who he was dating in the show, and they doing all of this talking in an America that got steel tariffs and got food being cut. Give me your take on this and where we at.
Okay, Big Tone. Big Tone, it's a great saying, and it says a culture gets what it celebrates. And we're at a point now where we celebrate celebrities, and celebrities dictate the order of the day. And then Eleanor Roosevelt had a great saying. She said that great minds, which I think you have a great mind, brother, great minds discuss ideas. So you're talking about ideas and moving. She said average mind discuss events, and small minds discuss people. So that's what Stephen A. them do. They discuss people and all these things. So, Thorne, I want to just go to that because we got to connect the dots. You said that Stephen A. just signed a $100 million contract. And then only this week, we get the news that he's thinking about dabbling in politics. Now, here's the deeper question, Tom, we have to ask, because we're going to always have the Stephen A's and the distractors and those things. But we have to go back to that quote I said, a culture gets what it celebrates. What type of culture have we created where Stephen A. Smith would even be remotely seriously considered for politics? And this is going back to the celebrityism of politics, starting with Obama to Trump to now we got a sportscaster that doesn't have any type of political affiliation or connection. Now, Tone, a couple of things I want to hit on. You said something very important, brother, because I want to uplift your work, man, and tell you how much you've helped me, man. You've grown me in so many ways. But Tone, we have to get to a point, man, where we look at the Gen Xers, and I know I'm making a blanket statement now. I know there's outliers and those things, and boomers, and we have to say, Tone, we got to concentrate our energy on Gen Zers and the Alpha generation. They're the generation that's coming out.
Let me say this, Carl. In my view, you ain't gonna have to worry about that because Gen Z is gonna have self-interest Gen Z ain't gonna be worried about you when you get old. You are seeing it right now with your children that are 20. They don't think about buying you a house. They were not socialized in the lifestyle, the rich and famous, and the Cosby Show. They not thinking about that stuff, so they're gonna take care of themselves. Now the question becomes, when will Gen X realize that you can't pay for retirement with culture? What am I saying? You can't pay for retirement looking cooler than your kids. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was on board that now, Tones, because I got some numbers for you. According to The Guardian, almost 70% of Americans, that's all Americans, Tone, don't have 10% in retirement. We're talking about people my age, Gen Xers, and some of the late boomers. Now, it goes on, Yahoo Finance has a more troubling article, and this is relating to us, Tone, because we know the numbers with ADOS, says millions of Americans are retiring with no savings. Studies show about 90% of low-income households have nothing stashed away for retirement. And it is no way to catch up at this point because, like you said, Tone, if you missed that post-baby boom, like that 45 to about 1975, which my dad caught a wave, had a high school diploma and was able to work in Birmingham, Alabama at a steel iron plant with my mom and take care of 4 kids, making $60,000 a year. This is in the 80s, Tone. So those days are over. And then my last thing, Tone, I want to just reference a book that you talked a little bit. You said that why we don't have time to focus on sports because it's a leisure class. There's a great book, Tone, by a professor by the name of Kevin Hood Gary. And he talked about why boredom, he uses that word boredom. He says why boredom matters. Education, leisure, and the quest for meaning. And what the book does, Tone, it talks about entertainment. And he said one of the things that has happened with America, that through technology and all of the sports and those things, they have created the perpetual child where you can stay in this kind of adolescence, looking for the next story and those things. And he says that most Americans now, they are just preoccupied with work, and that entertainment slice that he says should be a very minute part of your life is the majority. So when he says with leisure, Tone, is what we're doing, reading, developing our mind, looking at politics. He says that is going away, and you basically have this. You have the work and entertainment.
Yeah, you have to work to live.
And
what happened was that the gig jobs really created a blurring of the line. It started before that. Don't get me wrong. With how they started changing work and not giving us pensions. You know, they killed the pensions. Yeah. But you saw the gigification that happened right after Obama was elected. And I told people that he wasn't right. What you saw is that Uber is launched in March of 2009. Obama is sworn in basically late January of 2009. Like they had basically brought him in to rubber stamp gig jobs. And we saw that through his press secretary, Tom Perez. And so now, my point to tie to yours is that people see their off time as more time to actually try to make survival money and have 2 or 3 jobs. I'm going to let you go, caller. Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Big Tone. All right, man. Keep it up.
I got a full queue. I want to get to everybody. We're having this discussion. We're talking about all this sports betting, but we're talking about why we're talking about Stephen A. and LeBron and some high school level dispute in the middle of an America that is falling apart under Trump. Let me keep going. Let me keep going here. So you see that Stephen A. and their ESPN bet is falling apart. How many people in the chat knew that Stephen A. and their ESPN bet is falling apart? In the chat. $2.1 billion ESPN deal on the brink of disaster. I'm glad this trash is failing. This is my statement. ESPN bet in a $2.1 billion partnership with Penn Entertainment back in 2023. Both sides hope to challenge brands like FanDuel, DraftKings at the top of the sports betting market. Instead, it's a disaster. They got to get this man to make it less of a disaster. Jackpot, win a share of $50,000. ESPN bet. Somebody said, don't watch sports. I think we're coming to that. Oh, they said, I don't. I think we're coming to a point where it's going to be hard to continue to watch. It's part of the social fabric. So I get it, but I don't know. Within the context of this man is selling this trash. Y'all told me he was rich. Rich people don't have to sell trash. This is like selling trash on the side of the street. Can we talk about it? Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? 646.
Hey, Tone. Hi everyone in chat. Hope you all are well today. How are you doing today, Tone?
I'm all right. I'm just wondering, like, when I look at this thing and I'm looking at people talking about Janet Jackson and her looking young, as whatever, near 70, and you got Shaq and he's supposed to be rich, and he got the DraftKings so he can do his podcast. Like, what's going on here when we need to be talking about Trump and what Trump is doing to America to gut the lives of working class people across this country?
Yeah, what I wanted to say is two things. More than that, but I'll try to be concise. Why you have to question why something is happening and where something is happening. Now, was it really necessary for LeBron to confront Stephen A so publicly? You have to ask why they did that, and that's to sort of drum up more interest, sort of to get the gossip mill going. It's all intentional and it's all planned, and it's not genuine, right? So they know what people feed on, and so that's why they did it, because everyone's in on it. There's really no dispute. There's really no issue.
Let me say this. I don't care why they did it, whether it's genuine or not. These people should be seen and despised. And what we have is, I feel like that puts us down a road that we don't necessarily even need to go down. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not.
That's fair.
At the end of the day, what has happened is you are actually dealing with product spokespersons for gambling houses and treating them as very accomplished individuals. And I don't see every year what we hear on the NBA. This is historical. What's historical about somebody getting some more basketball points? Every year they got a championship. It's a historical run. Ain't nothing historical. This is what we got going on right now. A competition between giants to control the population through this gambling. But we also have a Trump that is sucking the air out of working class families. And we sitting up here talking about Janet Jackson or talking about whatever Trump is married, is divorced, or Shaq's podcast. I don't know how long we gonna last doing this. Give me your last take on it.
So this is what I wanted to make about why we do need government and how these government agencies are incredibly important. Years ago, I applied to a place that was known for discriminating against Blacks, Hispanics. This is just in the interview stage, right? So the EEOC sued them, like someone from the agency sued that company. And as a result of them suing that company, I was a part of a class where they actually sent me money because the company settled. And this is why government and these agencies are so critically important. I knew absolutely nothing about it, but because they had my information, I used my Social Security number, and I applied for the position. They were aware that I was harmed, and they sought to restore that harm to me because they knew that that company actively discriminated against me.
Come on. These are real stories.
And
these are real stories.
And it's so important. Right. And if that did not exist, and if that was not in place, and if that had happened now, it would have just been swept under the rug. There's nothing about it. So when people say that we do not need all these individuals working, or what do these people do? These people can compartmentalize and segment off and really drill down and drill in. And that's why you need more government and more people dedicated to government working, because we all benefit in the end, whether we know it or not. Thanks for taking my call, Tone. I appreciate it.
No, that was I appreciate the testimonial. I'm gonna come to you, callers that are in the queue. Please don't hang up. I'm not gonna stay too long, but we got Jess Hilarious. I think she's on the Breakfast Club or something talking about Shaq got 4 wives. I don't care. Like, what are we talking about? If you ain't talking about steel tariffs, if you ain't talking about the IRS cuts, you ain't talking about the education department cuts, the veteran affairs cuts, you ain't talking about this mental health shift that they doing. Let me see. I think I skipped that. Federal agency dedicated to mental illness and addiction faces huge cuts. Then you ain't talking. We should despise anyone promoting sports gambling, from King James to Joe Budden to Kevin Hart for real to I Am Jamie Foxx to Gilbert Arenas to Shaq to Charles Barkley. You guys don't grasp it, do you? Democrats revived bill clamping down on legal sports betting. 2018 Supreme Court ruling struck down a federal ban on sports wagering. Dems revived bill clamping down on legal sports betting. A pair of Democrats on Wednesday reintroduced a bill that said they said will establish common sense safeguards on legalized sports betting and prevent companies from tracking or targeting users who may be vulnerable to addiction. We're here today because government at every level has failed to pay attention or understand the impact of gambling-related harms. What do you think this is? It's a targeting of vulnerable black males. Well, he's not just for black males. Okay. Yeah. All right. You tell yourself that. Am I saying that there aren't other people that will be impacted? Not necessarily saying that. But the core audience is black males, in my view. Tonkio, alongside Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal, reintroduced their supporting affordability and fairness with every bet or safe bet. I don't believe there's a way to have a safe bet. What they're trying to do is put the genie back in the bottle, the genie out. I just hope the genie don't run through your goddamn house, all of y'all. And the only way I can tell you right now is to give you a solution. If you ain't ready for it, then see you in the next life. If your son, your husband, your daughter, your wife are gambling on these sports games, you better shut that shit down today or it will shut your ass down tomorrow. And I mean it that way. Solution given. So we're looking at politicians in the minute of this era. Representative Eric Solomon, he over here tweeting about the Golden State Warriors. Don't nobody care about that. Y'all got to start telling these people. You got Stephen A. going on the Fox News show, the far right Fox News show. I don't care what he say on there. He validating. He on there talking about Kamala's decisive loss. He on there with Candace Owens, a college dropout, talking about geopolitical issues like Ukraine on his own show. In my view, he's a closet conservative that comes out and masks himself in some democratic issues because that's where black folks was at, but he's going to go where the heat is. Stephen A. Smith changes his mind on Vladimir Zelensky after conversation with Candace Owens. By what expertise geopolitically does she have to change your mind? Just what the? Can we talk? You got people sharing this Jeff Teague. He talking about stories from when Larry Bird didn't do brunch. Man, them NBA players used to pass gas on the court. Y'all ain't guess that. Those are not good stories, in my view. But in addition, don't nobody care about whether you got brunch in 99 or 2003. Go eat. People are sharing these old sports nostalgia stories that are really just gambling promotion. Look in the corner. What's in the corner of his show? So when you see these shows and they're getting a lot of spin all around the internet, I want you to know that when you look up these gambling companies, they put large amount of money in advertising, and we do not know how these algorithms are being pushed. But what we do know is that if you take that off the show, I don't believe you would see it at all. You got Shannon Sharp pushing this as well. That's his logo. And you already know, and I've talked about him in DraftKings. This nonsense with these old 70s Dolomite stories is everywhere. Can we talk for a second? Ain't nobody gonna act crazy. That's what they're gonna leave for you. It's crazy. Yeah, that's what you get. Crazy. You don't get nothing. You get Dion and his son and how they run the 40-yard dash. They got the In Vogue lady. She crying because she been living in her car for 3 years. The NBA just had her singing at the All-Star game, I think. They just had her singing. She in her car. They go $500. Get on out of here. Glorilla. Wait, that's under the 2-year treasury yield hits lowest level since October. And then they talk about Glorilla. Got this lady in a see-through outfit like she at home. Everybody better get real. Farmers sue Trump administration to unfreeze USDA grants. 310, I'm calling to you right now. Shout out to LA. 310. All right.
Hello.
Yes, what's up, 310?
Hi, so this is Shannon calling from LA. Shout out to LA. So just been listening to you for almost a decade, and the decade has been talking about the decadent veil. I remember about maybe a year and a half ago, you spoke on the subject about and we're here now, and not to undermine what you're saying, but I'm just gonna say that we may not be able to afford the phones or the phone bills to even gamble online. Like we're here now, and it's just really sad that I feel like we are just sometimes just the immature people, and like you said, just cake and circus. And again, we may not be able to afford the phones or the phone bills to even gamble to do these online bets, and we're just here now. That's all I have to say.
Ooh, that was. I feel you. We might not be able to afford the phones. Thank you so much. I'm gonna take the last caller in a second. 323. I'm coming to you. Let me just finish this out because sister actually just got real. Y'all out here listening to Stephen A, who out here damn near right wing to me in my view. All right. Doge proposes cutting IRS workforce by a total of nearly 20%. USDA cancels $1 billion in local food purchasing for school food banks. The Agriculture Department has axed two programs that gave schools and food banks money to buy food from local farms and ranchers, halting more than $1 billion in federal spending, roughly $660 million that schools and child care facilities were counting on to purchase food from nearby farms through the local Food for Schools Cooperative Agreement Program in 2025 has been canceled. State officials were notified Friday of USDA's decision to end the LFS program for this year. More than 40 states have signed agreements to participate in previous years. The Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement Program, which supports food banks and other feeding organizations, has also been cut. Do you guys understand whether your food bank gets their food from this program? You better find out. And may the odds ever be in your favor. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's goody, Tone? It's North.
All right, North, this is you. May the odds ever be in their favor, because pretty soon they're going to be in the Hunger Games. They're out here supporting these people that sell this gambling, worry about this gossip. I don't care about no Lebron James. Go get it how you live. Go ahead.
Yeah, just calling in with something real simple. I kind of want to go a couple ticks back to Christian's call. Basically, what I'm glad that this horrible situation Trump's administration is showing is that ADOS will no longer be able to avoid the fall of the mystique of the parent. Okay, you have a lot of these podcasts. Everybody want to act like everybody comes from some great two-parent family home. This particular situation that we're sitting in right now, where they're taking away everything, people can possibly lose their lives due to not having medical care. And again, as I said last call, I have a disability, so that definitely concerns me. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is a lot of people, and I said it on your show. I said it on your show a couple of months ago that there's a fight that needs to happen. And with this situation that we have going on right now, the mystique of the parent is laying on the ground, is dying, and ADOS is not going to be able to get out of not being able to confront their parents about them basically being in their lives, yet leaving them. This parent is physically in your life, but they left you politically. This is what they left you to. They left you to sit up here and to fight for scraps, if there's even any left. I've said this to people several times. You don't want to know what that looks like. That's not something that where you want to be around for that. So this confrontation that has to happen, ADOS is not going to be able to avoid it anymore. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Tom, today.
What a caller to end this night with. I appreciate y'all coming. I'm just out here having this discussion that nobody else is having, because I believe that this gossip isn't needed to be talked about. And also, Trump is pointing at you with this devastating cuts. And while that's happening, you out here talking about LeBron James and Stephen A. not even acknowledge that these men are promotional ads for gambling in sports houses now. And you can deal with it how you deal with it. This is Tone Talks. Please go to ToneTalks.net, subscribe, donate, and share. Thank you so much for tuning in.